Right now on the website, ESPNFC.com, Mark Ogden writing about Gareth Bale. The article is titled, Real Madrid Need to Offload Bale, but They're Low on Options. Let's bring in the author then. Mark, what are those options? And it doesn't seem from your article like there are very many obvious ones. So how does your gut tell you this thing's going to play out?
Well, the basic principle to start with is that Gareth Bale doesn't want to leave Real Madrid. He doesn't want to force his way out, despite the fact that Zinedine Zidane's made it pretty clear that he's got no future there. Bale's got 3 years left to run on his contract. He earns £15 million a year, which is, a lot of money. So he's in no rush to say, I want to leave, so Real have to find a way to get him at the club. Now, if you're a buying club, you've got to pay those wages, or you've got to find the fee. And for a player that's 30 next month, I think in July, had injuries, he's a great player, but, it's a lot of money to gamble on a player who's 30 years old. So all the obvious candidates, well, Man United ruled themselves out. Man City don't need him. Liverpool don't need him. PSG, perhaps. Bayern Munich, maybe. There's not an obvious option. And I think Inter Milan have been mentioned. They've got money to spend, but would Gareth Bale want to go to Inter Milan? Tottenham don't have the money to buy Gareth Bale back, but again, he's not a player that fits their profile. Chelsea, Arsenal, a lot of the clubs that would ordinarily be linked with Bale either can't afford him or don't need him. So he's a player on a fantastic contract at Real Madrid who's happy that he's had 5 great years at Madrid, but there's nowhere for him to go. He's too young to go to China. So what happens, I really don't know how this resolves itself unless Real Madrid say, OK, Gareth, you've been fantastic for us for 5 years. We'll pay up your contract, we'll let you go. I mean, that is just not going to happen because they need the money to sign Eden Hazard, to maybe sign Paul Pogba, and after what he said last night, maybe Kylian Mbappe as well. So, Real don't want to be spending money by paying Gareth Bale to leave the club.
Ages, wages, and fitness. I mean, those are all real concern when you talk about Gareth Bale. So who, despite all that, should be looking at him?
I think the obvious one is Bayern Munich, given that you have Robben and Ribéry walking out the door. But when I say obvious, what obviously needs to happen as well is the idea that Gareth Bale has to be open to restructuring his contract, his deal, in a way in which perhaps he gets paid the same amount of money, but over a longer period of time, so that Bayern Munich can afford this move and it makes sense for them. Real Madrid is fully motivated to let Gareth Bale go. And Gareth Bale, I assume, and this is a strong assumption, shouldn't be the sort of player with his talent that is just going to sit there and never play again for Real Madrid. But he's not going to play under Zidane. And that has been made very clear. And Real Madrid are going to hold their position. So I think now it's up to Bale to either go to his agents and say, hey, let's find a way out. But in order to do that, he's got to show some flexibility because I don't think Real Madrid is going to show any.
Stevie, stay or go? What does your gut tell you about how this shakes out?
Well, he has to go because they've made it clear he won't be playing. They're kind of doing all they can to kind of embarrass him into coming up with some sort of figures to get him out. But I agree with Mark and Ali. Where does this guy go? I mean, Bayern makes sense, but after Bayern, where? He can't go to the Premier League. Because if there's one thing he can't do, he can't play a full season in the Premier League. No chance. So you're not going to spend all that money on a guy who might miss half the season in the Premier League. So forget the Premier League. Where does that leave you?
I tell you what's very obvious. You talk about a push out the door. I mean, he has been given the full two-handed push, shove out the door and say, go on, Gareth. We don't want you here. We don't need you here. And for whatever we're building in the future for Real Madrid, you're not going to be a part of it. I mean, that's as clear a message as you can have.
For more, sign up now for ESPN Plus.